Welcome to the Diversity Pivot Podcast. I'm your host, Julie Kratz, and this season we will be unpacking real trends, hot topics in the workplace around allyship and inclusion. Our goal is that each week you leave with tangible tools, information, practical strategies that you can take back to allies at your organization. Let's dig in to this week's topic. Hey listeners, we know DEI is being challenged right now. It's one of the things that I least like to talk about and to write about, but it's real. But it's also the impact that's undeniable. So one of the things that I love most about this work is I get to talk with incredible leaders that are doing the really important work inside organizations. And I got to talk with my state's Chief Diversity and Equity Inclusion Officer for the state of Indiana. Notably, her position is likely going away with the new administration. So she's the first Chief Equity, Inclusion, and Opportunity Officer, but also perhaps the last. And in light of that, what she told me is that even if the DEI position goes away, you can't undo the work. So in Indiana, where Kara led, trained over 9,000 state employees and external partners across the state. They spent time in our banks, city governments, art museums, community organizations talking about the importance of civility, compassionate listening, and humanizing people regardless of what they look like or what their dimensions of difference might be or identities. And what Kara said is DEI work transcends identity. It's about seeing the human and other people and being open to the conversations maybe we weren't open to have before. And so I asked her, why is the DEI pushback happening now? And her guess was that we're missing data. We all need to be prepared for the possibility that these positions go away. It's not necessarily a bad thing that we have, a DEI office, but when it's run and inappropriately, it can really cause a lot of attention, negative attention. And so embedding DEI into the practices, maybe this is a reset button, a pivot point where we, had some overreach and political correctness that's had a chilling effect, and positive conversations are less likely to take place. But when DEI offices go away or anti-DEI legislation is passed, it doesn't change the fact that the populations we hope to serve are diverse, and diversity is not going away. So inclusion is really the path forward. So how can DEI practitioners better show this impact? First and foremost, tell the story with data. When Kara worked with the governor, the senior leader in the state, was intentionally working with the state objectively about the data. So from our assessment, we found 3 key areas. Health equity was an issue, public safety in the workforce, and we addressed those gaps with education and social services. So whenever you break down the data by ethnicity and race for healthcare outcomes, you can tell a story for legislation. You can help get grant funding to empower these communities. So start with the data, ask, so what? Why does this matter? And then have intentional action plans mapped to those problem areas. Kara also said disrupt bias in systems. For corporations, start with the data, find out where the biases are. What are the business problems we're trying to solve? Is it recruiting? Is it hiring? Is it retention? Is it engagement? That data can help you understand where you need to pinpoint. Maybe it's succession planning. Find those gaps and disrupt those biases in systems. And consider, if you haven't already, only about 40% of companies have employee resource groups, and they're not going away. Whether DEI, the acronym, stays or goes, employee resource groups, ERGs, will most certainly stand the test of time. So start an allyship employee resource group if you don't already have one. Start with women, gender, if that's a problem, and representation, starting with LGBTQ, disability, folks of color, of course. And so think about allyship in those ERGs when offered. Employee resource groups really give companies a competitive advantage in attracting and retaining top talent because there's opportunities to engage people of diverse groups, but also engage the majority group, the dominant group in those employee resource groups. And make sure it's mapped to a business problem. How are we leveraging these programs to solve business problems? And that really helps us manage the pushback long term. All right, allies, whether it's doom and gloom or cautious optimism I'm leaving you with today, I hope that you know DEI, the work, is alive and well. It's not going to change. It's not going to go away. How we talk about the work, how we map it to data, to business problems, is how we keep the work alive. Thank you for listening to the Diversity Pivot podcast. My hope is that you walked away with a tangible tool, insight, or information that you can share with other allies on the journey. If you liked this week's episode, please leave us a review. Your feedback means a tremendous amount to us. We'll be back next week with another hot topic.